Hi everyone, I hope you're doing well. We're going to continue our Docker series, and today we'll speak about Docker Compose. So Docker Compose is essentially a single file through which you can handle your multiple Docker files. So it looks like this. It's called docker-compose.yaml. It's a YAML file basically, and here you can actually start your individual Docker files from this file itself, right over here. Now, if we look at our backend, we'll see there's a Docker file over here, and in our front end, there's a Docker file over here. So what happens is, if we want to work with each Docker file individually, we need to start running all these commands for the individual files. It is really time consuming. First of all, you need to build it, and then you need to run that individual Docker file. Instead, what Docker Compose does is it creates a single place where you can just give links to where your backend and front end Docker files are. And then you just have to run a simple command saying Docker Compose up. It automatically builds the individual Docker files, and then it runs them as well. And then in the end, your app should be running on your local host port. So this is how this works. So we'll go through how it's broken down into. So you can create a version for your Docker file here to maintain different versions, and then it has a services tag. So this services tag essentially is broken down into backend and front end. So in case of backend, we are telling first you need to build it, and we're providing the context as well, saying that please choose directory into the backend folder. And then once we do that, we say that, hey, our Docker file is present in that area over there, and then in that folder over there. And then we also give it the port mapping. We did this exact similar thing in our previous videos as well. And then because the backend is connected to our database, we have our environment also, which shows up over here. And this is our MongoDB environment. So you can set up that as well. And if I scroll up here, you can see from we can get logs as well. And you can see MongoDB is connected. It's coming from the backend log. Then we have done volume mapping as well. We had seen this just in the previous video. So you can introduce volumes as well in Docker Compose here. And then similarly for front end, choose directory into the front end folder. We're talking about the Docker file, port mapping again, and individual volumes for that as well. And then here we add another tag saying depends on. Why? Why are we doing this? Because what's happening is uh, if the backend is not running, your front end will not function. Essentially, this is the data that we're getting from the backend, right? So that's why we added depends on format over here. And then we are especially telling that for volumes, store it into node modules. So if we look at our uh, Docker images over here, we have two images that are created, and then you have a Docker app that runs. This, because of Docker Compose, it creates this individual folder structure here as well. So all of this is possible with Docker Compose, and it's amazing, especially if you're diving into microservices. So I will share the link to my GitHub repository that contains this code. So you could also check it out. So that's about it. Thank you so much and have a great day ahead.